calculators can go away, the periodic table can go away. There are 3 sheets right here cut along the dotted lines. The Chromebooks we will not use until towards the end. So we're gonna take some notes first and then go back. And then I'll tell you what page these go on.
So what if we put
It is lunchtime Monday. I'm in my old classroom. I was displaced because they're PSAT testing the 9th graders. So I'm gonna go take my stuff back to my classroom because it should be over by now. School just ended a few minutes ago and I was recording earlier, but I was in another teacher's classroom and a student came in who has that particular teacher, and so I stopped recording to help the student, but then the teacher showed up a few minutes later. So today was PSAT for 9th graders, the high school's office, the 2 positions ago, the office that I worked for as a science specialist. They had, I guess, required our campus to give the PSAT to 9th graders, and so our 9th grade students took the PSAT this morning all the way up until maybe around 12:35 lunchtime. And so they tested in this building and certain areas of the campus, and so the teachers in this building, myself included, we were displaced. I actually got to go back into my old classroom from last school year and teach my 1st and 2nd period. I had 3rd period off, but by that point I was back in my classroom. Nothing, actually I started a new topic, but I will talk a little bit about that tomorrow because I need to clean up. I had all my stuff on a cart. Some of it I already took off, but because I needed it for 4th period. But with that said, I'm gonna put the rest of this stuff up and then I'm going to head home and I will talk to you tomorrow. It is Wednesday after school. First let me make sure I'm in focus because I was out of focus for most of my last vlog. Today was really interesting. It's been raining for a week and a half. However, the teachers in this building beside myself are at a training today and they'll be at a training tomorrow. So there were subs and I tried to vlog earlier, but every time I sat down to vlog, someone was knocking at my door or they were walking into the room. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna stop doing it. One of the teachers, I guess the Canvas module that she left with her students wasn't enabled, and so the sub came and was like, hey, you know, they can't access this. And so I went and helped out, got that taken care of, then came back and she wanted me like to yell at the students. That's her words, to yell at the students. I'm like, I'm not yelling at the students because a few of the students were playing games on their Chromebook. And I just said, you know, take the names down and the teacher, when the teacher returns, she can deal with them accordingly. Then another teacher or another sub, as I was teaching, she came in and she needed to go to the bathroom and she wanted me to go watch the class. I'm like, but I'm in the middle of teaching my own class and I'm not gonna leave my students. So I was like, you go to the bathroom if you need to go. And luckily we have one right here in between the 4 classrooms. And so I'll just stand right here, you know, out there by the door while you take care of business. And then my innovation station, so my audio went out in November and it was something that went out. I don't know if the last teacher that was in this room had it fixed, but over the summer when I was moving my stuff in, I noticed it didn't work. I put in a heat ticket and they fixed it. I think I even talked about it in my first vlog. And they came in and they fixed it while my students were doing a stations activity in the back. But it went out in November and I just never put in a heat ticket for it. And so I put in a heat ticket a couple weeks ago, and so I guess finally someone showed up, but I was using the innovation station today, so I was like, I can't, you know, I need it right now. Can you wait 20 more minutes? And I guess the guy couldn't wait 20 more minutes, and so I don't know when he or someone else will come back to try to fix it. Hopefully, it would have been great last week because I was, you know, we were doing the blended learning and the students were using their Chromebooks and I just walked around. Or any other time when we're doing labs or stations, it would be great. But there's no way, because I asked them, I'm like, is there any way that you could, you know, tell me when you're coming back so that way I can make sure that I'm not using it? And the answer was no. So I wanted to talk more about the acrostic poem because I graded those this weekend, but it is getting late and I want to go home, so I will save that for tomorrow, so I will talk about that later. It is my conference period Wednesday. So my students, they took a quiz today, and actually it was there were 2 quizzes. So quiz 1 was over one topic, percent composition, and quiz 2 was over empirical molecular formulas. And I actually had pushed the percent composition quiz back to give students a little bit more time, but it was actually, percent composition was tied into the second topic. But as I think I mentioned perhaps in another vlog video, that I try to do a form of standards-based grading where I'm quizzing or assessing students on individual skills. So, and it wasn't long, both of the quizzes, so they were able to do it within a 30-minute period, and then we moved on to something else, but they took it on Canvas. So quiz 1, percent composition, I was a little surprised because many of the students, first of all, there was a mistake. I noticed that in Canvas I had put a formula question, and because I have another application on my browser, sometimes it won't change the font or the formatting, and I caught it before I came to work this morning, and I was trying to fix it, but for some reason it wouldn't let me fix it. Got to work, I thought I fixed it, but then when the first period students, they opened it up, they were like, what is this little symbol? So I came over to one of the students and I noticed that Canvas reverted back to the original question. So then I just had to tell the entire class that, hey, I want you to use this number. I'll go into Canvas and I'll individually grade based on the value that you put in there, because I had already calculated it. Then it happened second period, even though I thought I fixed it. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna toss that question out because it just was too much of a hassle. However, many of my students, I don't know what was going on, and they weren't reading the question, or they were doing the other skill, empirical or molecular formula, but they just, they bombed it, because since they took it on Canvas, they got their grade right away, and they immediately started asking me, when's the retake, can I take it again? And so then I went in and I just saw like 0 points out of 9, 4 points out of 9, and I'm like, what is going on? So then I had some students stay after class, and I heard them talking during class as well, that some of them just, as I said earlier, they did the wrong skill. They weren't paying attention to the question, so they did something else. Some students, they just said, oh, I just didn't feel like trying, and so I just kind of rushed through it, but I know it. I'm like, okay, like, if you knew it, like, why did you rush through it? Why didn't you take your time to do it versus having to come in and do a retake? But because both my first and second period classes, they just, for quiz number 1, for one reason or another, and I have to go back and take a look and also reflect on maybe I should have done something a little bit different, or maybe the whole quiz 1, quiz 2 together. I probably shouldn't have done that. But quiz 2, many students did well on that one, right? And that's the one they took after the first one. So I know that they're very capable of doing the problems, especially quiz 1. Some of the questions I took straight off the blended learning modules, and so one of the students was like, it was a hard quiz, and I'm like, are you sure? Because some of the questions I took straight off of the learning modules or the warm-up, so you saw at least a few of the questions before. It may have just given you a different number based on the formula equation that I put into Canvas, but it was the same skill. And then one of the students stayed after lunch and they went in, they're like, oh, it was the exact same question. I told you it was. So I have to go back and just reevaluate, that system of like doing a 2-on-1 quiz on the same day. But again, many of the students did well on the second quiz. They just, for one reason or another, I don't know, just got confused with certain skills, and they started trying to implement skill number 2 into skill number 1. So I just need to go and reflect on that a little bit more, because just scratching my head. So I only had 2 class periods take it, so maybe 4th period might be a little bit better, or maybe I will make an announcement before class or as class begins, and I'll do it tomorrow. Well, actually my B-Day classes take it Friday for my 6th and 7th period. But I did tell my 1st and 2nd period that at the very beginning of class on Monday, because progress reports, the window for progress reports is open, and so some of my students, they weren't eligible for whatever sport or extracurricular activity they were playing or a part of, so they need to become eligible by progress reports. So I just told them we will do a re-quiz just as a class, just based on how everybody did, and make sure you study, come see me for help, but look at the learning modules again, look at the extra videos that I created, so that way you understand what it is that I'm asking you in the modules. I'm still getting sometimes students asking me questions, and people who have watched my vlog have commented on other videos, the 3 before me strategy. And I don't call it that. I just always tell the students, did you ask the people at your table first? Did you ask the neighboring table? Because again, today someone asked me, hey, what is carbonate? And I'm like, isn't that formula in your notebook? Yeah, and the notebook was sitting right there in front of them. Oh, I don't want to open up my notebook. Okay, well, I guess you don't want to know it. So I didn't really deal with too much of that this week, but again, the whole quiz situation was a little bit disappointing, at least for my first and second period. The acrostic, so the acrostic was due last week, and I graded most of them this weekend. And any student that didn't turn in their acrostic writing assignment because it was 20% of their grade, they were assigned Saturday school. So I gave Saturday school slips today during class to students, and I told them I'm going to allow you to make it up because it's 20% of your grade. However, I'm also giving you this extra little task that you need to do in Saturday school, so that way you understand that, number one, like if I'm giving you this extended time period to complete an assignment, plus there was also an opportunity at least twice in class where I gave you a couple minutes to work on it and you decided not to turn it in. Sorry, somebody was at my door. After the quiz, we did balancing equations and writing word equations because we're going to get ready to go into stoichiometry. And I taught balancing equations last semester, but I never actually had students, besides one time, write word equations out and balance them out. And they're doing that because we're going to get ready to go into stoichiometry, which is also another topic that tends to be difficult for many chemistry students. And so I wanted to give my students just some practice, again, balancing and writing equations, but then also because part of my SLO has formula writing on there, and I haven't really gone back to cycle that back in besides just a couple of warm-up questions. So I want to make sure that I'm hitting that and they understand. But then spring break, we have one more week before spring break, and so I was debating whether or not I wanted to start this difficult topic before spring break and then have to come back, and because I know my students aren't going to open up their notebooks and look at their notes over spring break, and I don't blame them, and I don't want them doing that. I want them to have a break. So I'm going to start a new topic after we come back from spring break. So I don't know. I'll think about that. Maybe I might start like some basic concepts before we leave for spring break. With that said, I have 45 minutes before fourth period begins, so I'm going to take care of some stuff around here. Make sure I'm in focus. It is 7:42 Thursday morning. It's a late start, so that means faculty, we have to be here at 8 o'clock for professional development and training, and students have to be here by 10:15 because that's when school starts for them. So my fourth period, they performed similarly to the way my first and second period did on the first quiz anyways. The second quiz, empirical molecular formula, they all did well, and I think that's because that was the most recent stuff that we did in class, and they also had a lot of practice with that with the MOL airlines because they had to do a whole bunch of calculations over and over and over and over again, and they did well on that. Percent composition, however, they did not, but part of that was because I think I said yesterday, some of the students, they were doing empirical formula for that, and they just were doing the wrong calculations. Some students said, I blinked out, I sat in front of the computer, and everything in my mind was a wash. And some students, unfortunately, they didn't read the instructions, and last semester we took quizzes in Canvas, but it was more multiple choice and like drop-down menus or type in an answer, free response, things like that. Whereas this semester there's a lot of math involved, and so they have to do calculations and they enter a numeric answer based on a formula that I put in. And maybe I need to think a little bit more about how I do this, but for example, one of the questions said, round to the nearest whole number. And for example, if the answer was 79, but a student put 79.23, Canvas marked them wrong because in the answer choice, I put it as an exact number. And so if they put 79.23 versus 79, they got it wrong. So when I went and looked, many of the students, they calculated mathematically, they did the work correctly, and numerically they had the correct answer, but they didn't round to the nearest whole number and they got it wrong. Rounding is also an issue that I've been facing this entire year because some students, they came in and maybe they learned how to round earlier on and they just forgot rounding rules. And but for some reason, like they struggle with rounding because they're always like, they hold up the calculator, am I supposed to, you know, round this number? Do I round up? Do I round down? And so it causes them to, especially when we're doing these problems where they have to be mindful of rounding. With that said, I have a few minutes before I'm supposed to head down to the theater, so I may vlog later today. If not, then I will talk to you tomorrow. TGIF, it is Friday. I'm actually toying around right now during my off period about rearranging my room because I always, for some reason, feel the need to rearrange my room, but I haven't done so as much as I've done in the past, in previous years, this year compared to those years. So I'm thinking about putting or creating groups of 6. So I just took the table that was right here and moved it. But I'm about to place it back because advisory is going to start, and it doesn't make any sense for me to try to rearrange my room before my advisory class, and especially before 6th and 7th period. So I'm probably going to do that maybe during 8th period, because 8th period is my dual credit class and it's a very small number of students, and so they probably would help me out if I wanted to do that. I'm actually going to get ready to run to the office to drop all the Saturday school slips for the students that didn't do their, I don't know if you can see, this a lot, acrostic. And so progress reports are due Monday, and I just told the students, like, some of the students were passing, but then they didn't do their acrostic, which is 20% of their grade. So I put a temporary 0 in the grade book right now, but I told them I would give them the opportunity to complete it. They would have to go to Saturday school, and then I was gonna make a slight modification to something that they needed to do, because it's like, hey, you should have turned it in the first time when you had 9 days to do it. So I'm gonna get ready to do that because I have 12 more minutes left. My B-Day classes are gonna do what my classes did on Wednesday, so they're taking the quiz 1, quiz 2. I just sort of gave them a heads up, and I think some of them had already heard from my 8A classes that quiz 1 was hard when it really wasn't difficult. It was, as I said earlier in one of the other videos, I just took some questions from either the learning modules or the homework, well, not the homework, the warm-ups, and then I maybe had like 1 or 2 extra problems, but they were all very similar to one another. So I just told them to study for the quiz, so they have their quiz today, and then they have this kind of team collaborative assignment that they can work on together when they finish that. And that's gonna be the day, for the rest of the day. So I will, and I'm not gonna vlog after school today. I'm going to finish up with some stuff here, and then I'm gonna head home, so I will talk to you on the next vlog. Well, that's it. If there was anything about this video that you liked, then make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and or share the video. If you still haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe so that way you can bond with James. And if you're interested in checking out some of my other vlogs, you can do so by clicking on any of the links right here. As always, thanks for watching.